And I met this woman who snuck a video camera into the laboratories at a major. So I discovered that many of the big commercial companies not only don't treat animals well, they don't treat their customers that well either.
Treading water is the same as drowning to people like you and me. You better start swimming. Welcome to I'm the One podcast. I'm your host, Rob Green.
Hi, Sally. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing fabulous here in my attic area of Ecco Bella.
Well, I'm excited to have you. So you're the founder of Ecco Bella, is that correct?
I'm the founder, I'm the formulator of all our products, and I'm the instigator of all kinds of trouble.
I think as an owner, that's what I do all the time. I think I come back after the weekend, I have about 10 different ideas. My team is always wondering what I'm going to throw at them next. But I think that's our job as a visionary is to light the fire, come up with new ideas, and somebody's got to rein us in. But I'm excited to talk to you today about kind of your journey of starting Ecco Bella. And I'd love for you to talk about, some challenges you've had, things you overcome, the positive, the negative. I feel like most of the listeners can benefit a lot from things that we've overcome as entrepreneurs. But can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with Ecco Bella?
Absolutely. So my company is a socially responsible business, and I started it over 25 years ago. And I was propelled to do that after I met a woman who was a volunteer at an organization for which I serve on the board, which is Friends of Animals. It's a national nonprofit that advocates for animal protection and has the country's largest low-cost spay-neuter program and lawyers for animals. So very active with them. And I met this woman who snuck a video camera into the laboratories at a major personal care company, and she filmed how they tested on animals. So having one foot in the nonprofit world, I had the other foot in the business world, and I realized that business can make great changes to how things get done and whether or not animals or people are treated well. So I discovered that many of the big commercial companies not only don't treat animals well, they don't treat their customers that well either, and they get by on massive marketing budgets and consumers who don't know how to understand the products that they buy or how they're created. So I founded Ecco Bella to be a transparent company, a company that respects the happiness of all living beings, and that includes our customers, our staff, and the animals.
That's beautiful. I don't think many companies are focused on that these days. At least that's my perception on it. I mean, it is a lot about the marketing and the dollars to be made and about moving product in most cases. So I think you're a rarity in that regard, Sally.
Well, why can't we all do both? For example, we had a choice. We just came out with a fabulous new product that's first to market, which is a mineral-based vegan bone broth. And it is to combat this massive fad of people drinking animal bone broth, which turns out doesn't have much in it because you can boil bones for hours. And there's a study that I found that shows, what do you think goes in the water, Rob?
Whatever's on top of the bone when you put the bone in?
Right, nothing. The minerals that everyone thinks they're drinking do not go into the water. Scientists tested the water, had nothing in it except a little bit of gelatin, which is a really poor source of protein. So here we have this billion-dollar fad of people drinking this stuff, thinking it's curing their body's ailments, and it's kind of a delusion. But that is the power of marketing. And so here we come out with a product that actually is loaded with minerals. How did we get them? We turn to the sea. Sea plants, the ocean is the source of all our minerals, not animal bones. And they're absorbable, and you can actually remineralize your body with the stuff that we make. And so we also put it in a compostable package. So here we hit all the high points We follow a 3 precepts. Who does the product help? Who does it harm? And how does it get thrown away? And we try to hit a 10 on each one of those. It's got to help people, not harm animals, and not pollute the environment. So that one hit a 10.
So you're the second founder in a row that I've spoken to that has a differentiated product that sounds unique and better than what's currently in the marketplace. And I just talked to Taylor from Charlie Soap the other day, and he had the same conversation about laundry detergent. I learned a lot about laundry detergent and how his is completely different than the big store brands who kind of mask the cleanliness with perfumes and chemicals. And his claim was that his is the only one that really pulls out the actual oils and the dirt from the actual fabric. And we talked a little bit about the challenge of then marketing against this, let's call it status quo, for lack of a better word. So you've designed sounds like a potentially better product for the environment, for the consumer. How do you then tell the story of a better product against what I would guess the status quo exists today around that space?
We can tell the story through our website, obviously, and through videos and through photos and engaging influencers. But we honestly, without having funding, have to bootstrap ourselves to get the attention of the consumer, against these huge companies. I once looked online and I saw, I think it was, Nabisco wheat thins. And I saw, at the time I looked, it had 300,000 followers. And I thought, all these people want to follow a cracker? Why? So, yeah, I don't know. We have a lot to offer, and getting the attention is the every minute of the day objective.
Is there a feedback loop on that product, for example? And what I find with consumers is if you have something that has a differentiator, like a magic moment. A friend of mine, Dwight, just mentioned that at a recent mastermind. He's the founder of Mighty Patch, the pimple patches. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but they've taken over. They've created a whole new segment in the industry. And he called it a magic moment. Whereas if you put it on, you can see it working. And that allowed the instant feedback for the consumer to say, oh, it's working. I know it's working. I'll buy more of it. I feel like that is a challenge when you're, especially on an educational piece, is how do you get something to know it's working? Like that's a challenge with the supplements. If you take a capsule, you take a vitamin C capsule, is it working, or a chewable? I don't know if it's working. There's no feedback loop of, I don't feel better. I don't notice anything different. Do you think about that in any way with some of your products, especially the beauty products?
Right. Well, yes. And I use myself as an example. I'm a full-fledged vegan, and I do take supplements. And I realize that there are certain supplements that are so well studied that you sort of have to take them, like vitamin C. And frankly, most people don't take enough. But you can see your nutrition reflected in your skin. Mm-hmm. And that's the way to really evaluate how it's going. I mean, it takes time to realize how a supplement is working. So you go on faith, and then over the years, you realize you're not aging as fast as other people who, for example, I would say meat eaters. I find that comparing me or other vegans to meat eaters, and that is healthy vegans, eating wholesome whole grains, beans, rice, good, delicious food, not French fries and things like that, that we're not aging as fast. And so that's the proof.
Yeah, you could be a vegan and eat, I don't think this qualifies, gummy bears all day long, and that's probably not a healthy diet.
Right. And vegans are learning that now because there's so many vegan choices there's a couple of hundred different cheese brands. People who are addicted to cheese don't have to worry about, oh, I can't get my cheese. You can have plant-based cheese. Not that that's the greatest. No dairy product or dairy substitute is really great for you. But they're fun. Plant-based cheeses are fun. They taste good. And so that's fine. So I think we have to just understand that our bodies really do need the right fuel. And without it, they slowly break down. And you might not notice it for 10 years, but then you will notice. You definitely will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm staying healthy is a priority for me. It's one of the 3 pillars for me is staying healthy, which one of the frameworks I use is fuel, train, and recover. So I don't think about it necessarily as eating. I think about it as fueling my body. And then I think about training, whether it's either exercise or cardiovascular or lifting weights. And then recovery part is the downtime for my body, my nervous system, and sleeping, of course. All right. So that's how I think about my health journey, I guess you'd call it. But I'd love to get back to Ecco Bella a little bit. So tell us a little bit about Ecco Bella. It's 25 years old, socially responsible. Tell us as much as you can about it. How do you sell today? Where do you sell? What does the business look like?
Well, I realized at a certain point that I could not make my customers more beautiful with cosmetics, even though the cosmetics are designed for sensitive skin and for people who don't want chemicals on them. So they're very special. We have lots of people with sensitivities who rely on our products, but I soon realized that I can't make people beautiful if they're smoking, eating meat, dairy, or drinking soda. And that's why we designed the Beauty from Within program to go with it. And then I really don't love pills either. I take pills, but I decided anything that we want to give to a consumer, I have to be behind it. I have to be the one taking it. And so I do. And they have to be delicious. So we made 2 drinks. One, the hot drink that I told you, the boon broth, and then a bright red cold drink, which are the antioxidants. You could really live on these 2 drinks. And the bright red antioxidants have studies that show they build up under the skin. So what are the challenges? The challenges are getting people to understand this because they may not read all the studies that I read and realize, or meet with the scientists. They certainly don't do that, but I meet with the scientists behind these products. And it's fascinating. I call it living the wonder because I think it's all such a great experience to learn what science, when it's in awe of nature, what it can create. And so when we imitate nature for our own health and well-being, we can really prosper. And so the company used to be more of a big wholesale company selling to health food stores. And I ran a very big warehouse and a big broker team and called on all the health food stores and so on. But since then, we pivoted. We're not really in health food stores so much. We're now mostly online, and a few stores who want to get behind it. They're absolutely welcome, and we will support them and love them. And so we do all the best practices online. Having a presence on social media, constantly educating through our posts, and stating our mission, and working with influencers who make us recipes and film them, and they look delicious and they're inspiring. So that's basically how we do it now. And of course, we're always open to new ideas.
Sally, I don't know if you've explored TikTok shops at all, but TikTok shops just became available in the US a couple months ago. And is absolutely blowing up. And if you're not familiar with it, or any of the listeners are not familiar with it, it allows you to buy on TikTok, on platform, on the shop section. And it allows it also very, very easy to find the influencers or creators that you want to partner with. So in the past, it was more hunting and pecking and finding. It's harder to find those people. Now their platform is engaging, so they can find you and you can find them. So you could go find people that are already talking about Ecco Bella and have them become a creator for you. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything this big, this fast in e-commerce. The revenues are insane, and we've just started exploring it the past few weeks. But it's bigger than when I started doing Amazon 8 years ago for me.
Yeah, well, coming from you, then it must be true. I find that I get hyped so much by people. I'm sure the other entrepreneurs listening, all day long, the agencies say, we're going to 10X your sales and do all this, and then they don't do it. So,
good news is I'm not trying to sell you anything, Sally. Yeah, good news.
I know. Listen,
I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Cynicism.
Listen, we both have been doing this long enough to be skeptical. I don't. Boy, this is going to paint some of our listeners, hopefully not hurt any feelings, but I am not an agency fan. So in my experience, most agencies overpromise and underdeliver. That doesn't mean all of them, but most of them, it's very easy for them to overpromise, and then they're not performance-based in a lot of times, so they're not able to deliver what they promise, and then you've spent 3 to 6 months or a year down the wrong path. It's been my experience and a lot of friends' experience with agencies. But I will say that when you see some of these, an example, I think Tarte Cosmetics did $5 million on TikTok shops in the last month, and they're brand new. Crazy numbers on a new platform that just opened up a couple months ago. So you're seeing companies do $1 million a week now, or $1 million a month, that have no business or probably don't even do that in the rest of their entire business. And they're doing it just on platform. So anyway, it's something you might want to check out. I've been digging into it the last few weeks and learning more about it myself. And the team is working on this. It's definitely new for us, but the data that we've been able to extract is significant. It's improved. It's unbelievable, to be honest.
Well, I think that shows, a lot of consumer interest from that age group. They are obviously looking to buy without having to go into the store. And so I think it sounds wonderful. I would love to speak with those consumers and show them what we do, because I think they all have the wish to not harm animals in their purchases. Yeah. And so I would love to be able to talk to them about how to accomplish that and really have a clean conscience about how they purchase. So I don't really know a lot about TikTok, but I would like to learn.
Yeah,
do you have a recommendation, Rob, on how to learn?
So it's funny you say that, Sally. I tend to go a little off the deep end on this stuff. I dig in really deep, a little OCD about it, and I start just diving in, learning everything. There's hardly any content because it's so new in the U.S. There's a couple guys talking on YouTube, but they're figuring it out just like we are. So there's there are no courses, there are no gurus, there's nothing really agencies. You don't even find an agency in the U.S. right now that has figured this out, that is selling it. So what we do is we just go and look at the actual examples of the people selling well, and then we just try to model what they're doing. And I think TikTok is really even changing. The algorithm is so good that it helps you amplify your message to the right people, is what I believe. And so it allows it to kind of hone in, whereas it's more of a discovery than Amazon. I feel like everybody already knows what they want, and they're saying, oh, I want a bone broth protein powder. I'm going to go search for it with those keywords, and I'm going to go find, and then I'm going to choose from this group of products, right? Whereas TikTok, you're on there, and it's whoa, it's interruption marketing a little bit, but it's also like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even know I needed that or wanted that. Or, oh, wow, this is targeted to me because I do care about the environment and I do care about animals. And it knows that based on what I've liked and I've followed in the past. So it's something, I wish I had a better recommendation. I will probably in the next month or two as I dig in more. But right now, I would definitely, if you got somebody on your team or someone on the marketing side to look into that. You mentioned that you said you're doing online mainly now instead of retail. Is that a breakdown of marketplaces like Walmart, Amazon, and then Shopify? Is that how you think about it, is marketplaces versus your direct-to-consumer business?
Correct. And we use BigCommerce as our website platform. And so it's primarily Amazon, and then a few other distributors such as Vitacost, which is the big
Yeah.
health food supplement website. They've been around for years. Also, I knew them when they first started. So I'm very experienced in this field, apparently. It's interesting to see the brands come and go and see how the big brands that were around 20 years ago have disappeared, and there's a million little brands, and they're all wonderful, to be honest. So I can understand why consumers might be confused, but there's consumers do have to find the company that they believe in and stick with it. That's because also companies sort of experience consumers as transient, and that's kind of sad too, because we're still here doing what we do very well, and a customer may move on to another brand, and we wouldn't even know why.
Yeah, that is a disconnect, right? It's not face to face; it's online, and you really have to try to extract what makes people happy, what doesn't make people happy. I do have two more recommendations for you, then, Sally. One, have you already looked into iHerb? iHerb as a wholesaler, I guess you call. Have you looked into those guys?
I know of them. They used to represent us, and they stopped.
Okay, because I know they do international sales. And so a lot of people tap into the international market through iHerb. I have a few friends that have done that.
You know what? I think we can call them again and say, how are you doing?
Okay. The other thing that we do a lot is we sell a lot on Amazon, is we analyze reviews. And now with AI, we're able to pull down sentiment from our products and our competitors' product. And what I mean by that is we're able to extract. Not in the past, we would just download the reviews and we would try to use like a word cloud and see which words had the most frequency. But now with AI, you can extract the reviews and it'll give you a sentiment of a product and say, hey, most people say this product is too oily or smells great or whatever the features are of the product. The AI will do the review sentiment analysis in seconds from 300 reviews to 20,000 reviews. It doesn't matter. We use that now to give insight, especially when we're launching a new product, to give insight on what the market likes and what doesn't like about the existing product. So that might be something else you could try, is to try to use. The software we use for that is Shulex. It's VOC.ai. And they VOC, it's voice of the customer.ai is what it stands for, I believe. So that it just has an overlay and it does it right on Amazon for you. And you click a button and it tells you the sentiment analysis. So just another tip you might want to take a look at.
Sure. Yes, thank you for that tip. I will definitely do it. I always take advice. I think if anyone doesn't take advice, then they're never going to have wisdom.
Well, tell us a little bit about the current state of the business. How are things going? And then do you have any challenges right now you're trying to overcome and take, for the next 25 years?
Well, yes, on Amazon, since you're an expert on Amazon, we are having challenges there. We keep having to hire new agencies to run our advertising program, and they pitch us really well, and they're going to do this, and then another agency comes in and says, but look, doesn't look, you're not running display ads, their AI is turning off your keywords too quickly. I mean, this is literally a conversation I had yesterday, and I'm not an expert because I'm the business owner, and I can't learn everything about data management for all these, for Google, for Amazon, for Facebook. So I'm sure other entrepreneurs might feel that way as well. What are your suggestions, since you're an Amazon expert, about the advertising?
Yeah, this is right in my wheelhouse, Sally. I was just at Amazon a month ago. They have a new program they're launching called Voice of the Sellers. So there were 3 other sellers. 2 of them were my friends, and we met with a bunch of executives. That meeting at Amazon was specifically around what you're talking about, data analytics, the tools that they've exposed, which have been great. It's far better now than it ever was in the past about what they're giving us for tools and data. The problem is the average seller doesn't have any idea how to use them. And I tend to be more data oriented. So for me, it's easy to kind of dig in and break down and analyze the tools and really get an understanding of it. But I was explaining to them that the average seller, A, doesn't have maybe the knowledge or experience with that, or B, doesn't have the time, because like you said, a lot of us are wearing many hats and trying to grow a business. The last thing I can do is go learn a new report that Amazon launches and figure out how this applies to my business and how to use it. So my feedback to them was start giving some like webinar series, case studies, examples of how do I use this new search query performance SQP data? How do I use it? And how can I apply this new tool and these new analytics to my business? I think, unfortunately, in the agency world, most agencies, well, this is going to sound really biased, but a lot of times the people that start the agency are very knowledgeable. And then we all have this problem. We start to scale and they have to hire people. Well, that person has less experience than the person who started it. And the person who started might be an expert, but now you've got to hire somebody and they're maybe 70% as good. Well, now we're scaling more. Now you've got a third layer down and they're 70% as good as the person above them. And I find that's the real challenge, is the people side of the agency business. I do have one friend I would recommend as an agency. I'd happy to recommend him offline if you're interested in talking to him. He has a small number of clients, maybe 10 to 15. He's a good friend of mine. I'm happy to refer him to you. He's the only one. He's in my mastermind. He's the only one I would actually refer. But with that being said, I think you hit the nail on the head for a small business and medium business owners. Who do you know to hire? How do you know who to hire? And how do you know who to trust, especially if you're not an expert in that space? I've been doing PPC for 13 years online. I taught myself AdWords 13 years ago. I've been running, I don't even know, millions of dollars by myself before I started hiring people. That gives me the ability to say, I know whether they know what they're talking about or not. But if you don't know that, like a good example is creative. I don't know how to use creative tools. My daughter is better at Photoshop than I am, and Adobe Illustrator. So I go to her with questions because I don't have the expertise in that space, right? So I think that's a real serious problem that we all have as entrepreneurs, is how do you judge somebody's abilities ahead of time, especially if you're going to be outsourcing it, employees, but also outsourcing it. And I find that the only thing that's ever really worked for me is just friends, like referrals. Like it's like the old, I don't go to the phone book in the old days and get a lawyer's number and just call a lawyer. I've got my lawyer from a friend referral, right? I think that's the best way to get quality resources is from friends in the space who've used them and can refer them to you. So that's been my experience, especially, and Amazon's a totally different animal because it's evolving so fast. And that's what is so difficult about it, is that it changes every week. There's just new things out and they're tweaking this rule and changing that. So staying on top of that is really a full-time job for somebody. And if you can find the right agency that is staying on top of it, that's the way to go, I think.
I would be delighted to speak with your recommendation.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to connect you with him. So it sounds like things are going well. You've got a good foundation for the future. Where do you see and where do you want to take Ecco Bella in the future?
Well, I want to help our customers even more make that transition to, a healthier, longevity producing, more beautiful skin, creating lifestyle. And I think that the products we have are already light years away from what, the major commercial products are. And so my sole goal is to find those people who want to learn and want to try them. And of course, everything we do and make is guaranteed. So my goal is totally about finding my tribe. That's it.
I love that phrase. I co-founded a mastermind a few years ago, and I feel like that was where I really found my tribe of like-minded entrepreneurs who we've grown together and we share what's working and what's not working. And I found that to be truly valuable. You find like-minded people that you can associate with, and I think that's what you're looking for in your customer base. You're looking for people that think the same way. And while I think that it's more difficult sometimes to get in front of those people, but now it's also if you can get the right message out and get the right platform out, I do think it can go viral. I mean, there is the ability now, if you get it right, not saying it's easy, that one-to-many approach can happen. And you've got a really great message around that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't care if it goes viral. I just would like, steady person-to-person customer building relationships.
Well, it's interesting you say that. When I say viral, what I mean is it's just exposure. So what I mean is, the old days, be a one-to-one. It'd be, I'd tell my friend, I'd sit next to them and I'd tell them in person. Then I'd call a friend and tell them. And now it's more like, I'm sharing online what I'm experiencing. And this is, I'm sharing right here on the podcast, a one-to-many approach of this is what you've learned. This is what I've learned. These are the opportunities. So I think that one-to-many, the technology is really enabling that one-to-many approach as opposed to the one-to-one approach that was so common for so long. And I do think there's true power in, raving fans. You get somebody, I tend to be a super referrer myself. So I find something I love, I tell everybody about it. I've got a bunch of products. I'm like, listen, I don't sleep without my 8 Sleep, which is a mattress cover that cools the bed. I keep it cooler at night. That thing, if I sleep at a hotel, I hate it. I miss my 8 Sleep every single day. So like there's certain products, you get it and you use it and you become almost like a preacher for it. I mean, you feel like you're promoting it because you love it so much for yourself, right? So I think that's what when you say tribe, that's what I'm hearing is finding your tribe of people that are in love with what they're doing, and it's more of a lifestyle than just a product. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and what I want to do is, in the case of all these people that are mixing animal skin and bones collagen into their coffee. Or drinking animal bone broth because they heard about it on, YouTube or TikTok when it has no scientific basis at all. It's a total waste of money, animal lives, and it's killing the planet on top of it. I mean, don't we all have to wake up to our practices are causing our planet to heat up? How long is it going to take before we're not going to have the food supply that we rely on? We can get whatever we want. If I want oranges, I can get them. Is there going to be a day where if the planet's not going to be able to produce oranges, they're going to be rationed or something? We have to be very careful. We're jeopardizing our very own food supply. So, and it's from animal agriculture and animal factory farming in these mass quantities. And so my little company has a solution to make people happy and help transition them to more of a healthier plant-based diet, save their money, be healthier, be happier, and cool down the planet. And so it's really imperative that we're able to survive and keep going. I think that's crucial. And so you're talking about getting the message out. What is your feeling about YouTube, Rob?
I mean, I think YouTube is a consistent, and I'm not an expert in it by any means, but it feels like to me in the research I've done, it's just consistency. You just got to consistently use YouTube to get out there. I do think there's value in repurposing content, right? So this podcast, we put it out to Spotify, to Apple, to YouTube Shorts, to TikTok. We take the same content and we try to splice it up and for the platform. And I do think that's, especially with what you're talking about, I think that the marketing side of things, you're telling a story, right? It's not just a commoditized product. You're telling a story and you need time to tell that story. And I think your story is probably better communicated visually than with text. So for me, just hearing what you're building and what you've been building, I think that YouTube, TikTok, Shorts, things like that have a time frame for people to see it and tell the story, that feels like it would resonate better with your tribe.
Okay. I think
that's
we'll work on
just
that.
An outsider's opinion.
No, I think it's important because entrepreneurs tend to get so much, into the rainforest, I'll say, that it's hard to see the direction that we're going sometimes.
One other real big side benefit I want to touch on, and boy, I sound like I'm a shill for TikTok shops here, but again, I've just been doing research on it. I can't believe it. I've seen significant, as I've analyzed some of the products that have done well on TikTok shops, I've seen significant overflow on their sales on Amazon. I mean, significant, Sally. There was a product that was one of the best sellers on TikTok shops, and it went from like 5,000 BSR, which is bestseller rankings in their category on Amazon, which is good. That's probably 150 units a day. It went from a 5,000 BSR to a top 100 BSR, which is like 3,000 units a day after they crushed it on TikTok shops. I mean, you can see the chart just go like this to improve BSR. So you're there, and that's hard to capture. I know it's always difficult. Attribution is always a problem for e-commerce. But then you can see significant overflow to other platforms that has significant value to the business, not just on one platform. So that's the other really positive side to trying to get out there and tell the story through video.
Well, that's the mysterious aspect of the flow, all the rivulets and where it all ends up. And that's fascinating. And it reminds me of a program that some people have on their websites, which consumers may or may not know about, but they can actually now identify all of us when we go on someone's website, and they'll know who we are. It's not anonymous anymore.
Yeah, there's software out there you can pay. Yeah.
Right. And they find you, and they know who you are, what your email is, and then if the person doesn't make a purchase on the website, you can email them and start a conversation. That's one of the great ironies of this online selling, is that it's so easy and convenient, but 70% of our customers abandon their shopping carts, and that's a universal.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. After all that work they did selecting the products, and obviously they wanted them, and then suddenly change my mind onto something else. That's no one would do that in you're in Arizona, what's there, Kroger's? I mean, no one would do that in the local supermarket. Just walk out of the store, leave their shopping cart filled with groceries. So
that's very true.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'll go back to Amazon again with this SQP data they launched last year, the search query performance data. You can actually now see by SKU, by keyword, how many impressions you got, how many clicks you got, how many add to carts you had, and purchases. So you can actually see that now. Again, I tend to be a data guy, Sally, so sorry to go into the weeds on this, but you can actually see now by ASIN, by keyword, the whole funnel on Amazon. So you can identify, hey, this product here has a higher cart abandonment rate than this one over here. Is there a reason? Is there some messaging we're doing? Is there something on the detail page that we could change? Are we targeting the wrong customers? There's a lot of things to dive into with that, because now they're exposing that data with BigCommerce or Shopify. It's been relatively easy to see that and do a cart abandonment email. Actually, Amazon now has a tailored brand promotions now that I believe allows you to market to people who abandon your shopping cart, not DSP, but tailored brand promotions, and offer them a discount to come back and buy the product or try the product for the first time. So they are giving us more tools to be able to interact with that consumer and build more of a relationship with the consumer, which I appreciate.
Yes, it's not so mysterious. I mean, they don't let you have the data. But what's really frustrating is that you can't respond to people's reviews. And people have these petty complaints, right? Petty complaints or misinformation or accusations. One can't respond anymore. You can't get them taken down, and it lowers your rankings.
Yeah, that's the whole the gamification of Amazon is the challenge. I know they're trying to whack-a-mole with that, because we've had this many times where we've had competitors come after us and attack us with, bad feedback or scurrilous reviews. That is a challenge I know that they work on, but I mean, I don't know if they'll ever solve that problem. I don't know anyone ever will solve that problem. So it's just we try to do the best we can to be diligent and stay on top of it and use the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, as an alternative to the reviews, because we can answer questions and have, customers submit them and ask questions to handle kind of some of those comments. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there is some, as it becomes more transparent, there's also the opaqueness that happens too, because we're not having that clear identity of customer communication. So it makes it easier in some ways, but it makes it harder in just new and different ways is what I find.
And why don't they allow us to respond to the consumers with a sincere answer?
They used to. I mean, that they did up until maybe a year ago or so, I think, and they stopped. I'm not sure why they stopped. I never heard a good reason on why they actually stopped the ability to comment on reviews, because we used to always, as a best practice, every review would reply or comment on the review. And especially with a problem, hey, contact us. We'd love to help you out with this, whatever your situation is. One piece of the product broke, or we'll get you a new one. We'd like to help you and make sure that we can get it to you. But if we can't communicate with them, it makes it challenging to solve that problem.
Well, maybe next time you go to meet with them as voice of the seller, that'll be on your checklist.
I will put that. I am going up there again in a couple of weeks. I will put that on the list if it comes up. So, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really want to say thank you for taking the time to talk with me, share your story, and share your mission of what you're trying to accomplish with Ecco Bella. And I will definitely reach out to you. I'll connect you with my friend with the agency. But anything else I can always help with that, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help in any way I can.
Well, thank you very much for your sincerity and also your excellent questions. And please keep me on your list. And thank you to all your podcast listeners also. If they want to contact me, it's boonbroth.net or sally@ecobella.com. Happy to speak to any interested people.
I love it. Thank you, Sally. I appreciate it.
Okay.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with friends. Visit I'mTheOne.com and ask me anything. And as always, stay curious and never stop becoming the one.